Welcome to another episode of the Jam Pack Report, today for February the 5th of 2021. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry. Hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week, it's your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. So if you enjoy the show and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But yesterday we got more information about Activision Blizzard's earnings for fiscal year 2020 and for Q4 of 2020, and I know, shockingly, it was another record-breaking year. Who would have ever suspected? Do you get the sarcasm? I'm laying it on thick. But Call of Duty has been the primary driver for growth throughout the year, but that is not to say that other sections of the company have not grown as well. Call of Duty Mobile, the free-to-play Battle Royale Warzone, and premium experiences like Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War drove the company to new heights. Company-wide, Activision Blizzard posted full-year net revenues up 25% to $8.09 billion, while net bookings were up 44% to $8.42 billion, and net profits rose 46% to $2.2 billion. In Q4 alone, revenues were up 22% to $2.41 billion, with net bookings up 13% to $3.05 billion. Net profits were down 3% to $508 million. Quote, "We are already seeing the impact of our growth initiatives for Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush, which we expect to again drive strong results in 2021, the company said during its reporting. And at the same time, we are making significant progress against our development pipeline for other key intellectual properties, which we expect to fuel further growth in 2022 and beyond." Call of Duty's success pushed Activision to the top, with full-year net revenues up 77% to $3.9 billion. Its full-year operating income jumped 120% to $1.87 billion, which means Activision's profits were nearly as high as Blizzard's sales alone. It's also notable that World of Warcraft experienced a 40% year-over-year increase in net bookings thanks to the release in part of Shadowlands, its last major expansion. By last, I mean the most recent, not the final expansion. WoW is not going away anytime soon. A couple of other pieces of news were released alongside this big report. Number one, a Call of Duty game is coming out in Q4 of 2021. Shocking, I know. And while it was not specifically said during the report, it is presumed that this year's game will be from Sledgehammer Games, so keep that in mind as you look towards the future of the franchise. On top of that, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are not coming out in 2021, meaning those could very well be the games which are talked about here in the statement, where there are new intellectual property developments that are coming in 2022 that are going to continue fueling growth. But of course, as I've said throughout the week as we've talked about these earnings reports, you see a lot of growth, and that's because gaming is growing at a very fast rate, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic keeping people home, and whether it's somebody getting a console for the first time or downloading Candy Crush just to pass the time, Activision Blizzard is essentially everywhere that they need to be. And the company also did mention that mobile is going to be a much larger part of their future going forward. They're aiming to have mobile versions of every major intellectual property that they have. After the success of Call of Duty Mobile, why wouldn't they? I'll also mention that Diablo Immortals, while it did get shit when it was first announced, has actually been well received by the gaming community that has had a chance to go hands-on with the beta that's been out on Android. So, don't knock it till you try it. Mobile gaming is not what it was back in 2010 or 2011. There are legitimately good experiences on mobile devices. I have an iPhone 11. It's not the newest iPhone, it's certainly not the worst, and it runs games incredibly well. Even my tablet does okay. And on top of that, with cloud gaming coming into the picture, there's so much potential for mobile that it seems natural for a company to gravitate towards it, not entirely, but certainly have experiences there to get people into those worlds. Somebody might jump on and download Call of Duty Mobile, the free-to-play mobile version of Call of Duty, and really enjoy it, and then as time goes on and they become more and more invested, they could buy a console, they could build a PC to get back into those bigger experiences like Modern Warfare or Black Ops Cold War or Warzone. Whatever it might be, it's all about getting people in the gate. It is also worth mentioning that monthly active users were pretty much stagnant year over year. There was not too much growth, and I'm wondering if they're hitting a cap on the saturation for Call of Duty players. That's what I would like to know, because it seems like everybody at this point knows what Call of Duty is and plays Call of Duty, but year after year after year, they have found new players to come in. And of course, there are a couple of new players, but at the same time, just dropping when it comes to the momentum of growth for Activision Blizzard in its monthly active users specifically. But still, very successful year for the company and a very successful year ahead in 2021. Now, another story I wanted to mention here is pointed out by @BenjiSales on Twitter. If you don't follow Benji, you absolutely should. He does some fantastic live streams. He posts continual updates from the gaming industry, and he's just a genuinely great guy. But he writes, quote, "As of December 31st, 2020, Resident Evil 3 Remake has now outsold the lifetime sales of the original RE3 Nemesis release. RE3 Remake sits at 3.6 million units sold, and RE3 Nemesis capped out at 3.5 million units sold. It only took 9 months. Both RE2 and RE3 remakes outsold the originals, and Benji says he wonders if the same will happen with Resident Evil 4. One other note that I do want to add is that as of March of 2020, RE2's 2019 remake had sold 7.2 million copies, and that's something that's been publicly noticed, is that RE3's remake did not sell nearly as well as Resident Evil 2's. But to Benji's question, what will happen with Resident Evil 4's remake? I think it will do incredibly well if it's done properly, because Resident Evil 4 has a very strong community of players online that still love that game to this day, and I think a lot of people would love to see a remake of that one. RE3 never really carried the same weight in my mind. RE2 seems like a Goliath of the franchise, and Resident Evil 4 also has that same kind of feel, but it's hard to kind of replicate the success of RE2 whenever it did kind of set the bar so high. It's what many people remembered. It was Raccoon City, it was the police station, and it was just a genuinely fantastic rebuild from the ground up of that experience. And so I think a lot of people loved that one. I certainly did. And I have Resident Evil 3 Remake, but I have not sat down to play it. I know my friend Ferris Wheel Pro over on Twitter, Joey Ferris, he is with the team at, oh man, oh, where's he? Hold on. Hold on. Ferris Wheel Pro, come on. Yeah, we gotta see. Game Explain, that's where he's at. So Joey here talked about Resident Evil on his Twitter feed, and he said that while many people said that it took roughly 6 hours to beat Resident Evil 3 Remake, he finished it in roughly about 3, and that is a very small experience, so it's probably not going to be bringing in quite as many people as RE2 would. But all of that being said, Resident Evil 3 has now outsold its original with the remake that came out in 2020, so congratulations to the team behind the scenes that made it all possible. You have done it. But to round out today's show, we have a very sad piece of news that broke yesterday. Robert A. Altman, the co-founder of ZeniMax Media, has passed away. We are deeply saddened to tell you of the passing of Robert A. Altman, our founder and CEO. He was a true visionary, friend, and believer in the spirit of people and the power of what they could accomplish together. He was an extraordinary leader and an even better human being. During the pandemic, Robert would send out an email every week to keep in touch with everyone in the company. Everyone always looked forward to these, and we thought we'd share one of his notes with you. To the ZeniMax family. Last week I mentioned some small pleasures I had discovered as a byproduct of the lockdown. Some of you have since written to share your own experiences and describe other quiet joys work from home brings. The growing numbers of songbirds in our backyards, quieter streets, adventurous efforts baking bread and mixing cocktails, long walks, restaurant takeout, time to read. While we clearly miss treasured social interactions, something valuable has been gained too. We know many are feeling the pressure of isolation, and the stress is related to our current circumstances. Again, I urge you to make time for yourselves daily, schedule online social gatherings, and keep your perspective knowing this will pass. Tomorrow, I encourage everyone to take a break to toast our company's 21st birthday and reflect on the long journey we have taken together. You have done something extraordinary, something few startups ever do. You have created a multinational, multi-billion-dollar business, stacked with talent at all levels of the company, carving out a leadership role, earning the admiration of our toughest competitors and devoted fans. And you have done it the right way, always faithful to our core principles of integrity, respect, team, and quality. Don't let the day pass without taking a moment to enjoy your remarkable creation. Looking forward to being back together. As always, stay safe. We are proud to carry on the values and principles Robert taught us. We extend our deepest sympathies to Robert's family, who are a part of our family and have always treated us as a part of theirs. Thank you for everything you did for all of us, Robert. Rest in peace. And that is a statement that ZeniMax released on Twitter. Very sad news here, of course. He had been the co-founder of ZeniMax Media all the way back 21 years ago when it did come to be, and he has since helped grow the company and drive it to an incredible success. But the social media landscape just saw an outpouring of love and support from people around the industry, but specifically people at the very top of many companies like Xbox, Microsoft, Electronic Arts. So many people came out to talk about the impact that Robert had had. I know Pete Hines said on Twitter that he wished that he had taken time to tell Robert how much he cared about him because now he doesn't have the chance to. It just seems like everyone that knew Robert knew that he was such a fantastic, kind-hearted guy. And so, while of course I never had a chance to know him, the impact that he has had on the industry and the impact he has had on so many millions of lives around the world through the creations that he helped facilitate is just absolutely unprecedented. So, rest in peace to Robert A. Altman. I know that he will be missed at Bethesda, at ZeniMax, and around the gaming industry in the world as a whole. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jam-Pack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about everything we talked about here today. Of course, if you do want to check out my other show, the Open Critic Weekly Recap, the latest episode is out now on feeds around the world, so check it out, give it a search, and you'll probably enjoy what you see. But have a fantastic weekend. I do hope you've enjoyed the entire week's worth of shows, and we'll be back on Monday for another round of news. But until then, have a good one, and peace.